What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Walkout Network. It's your man, Ant Walker, here with another edition of Unleashed. I am happy to introduce another wonderful panel. So, we're going to start with the special guest this week. He is the lead correspondent over at Cageside Press. The homie, good friend to hang out with at all the events. You know him as Double G, Gabriel Gonzalez. What's up, Gabe? How you feeling, my man?
What's up, Anthony? Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be here. And yeah, just a lot of fun, man. I'm doing well.
All right, good. Good to hear from you, man. So, of course, we've got the jack of all trades who's mastered them all, the ever handsome Mr. Ben Duffy. Ben, what's up?
How's it going, Ant? Happy to be here.
Great work. Now, Jay Petrie is here. Of course, he is the man about all the numbers, all the stats. So, Jay, thank you for joining once again here on the Walkout Network. How you feeling?
Good. This was a good weekend to refresh this past one. This next weekend is going to be a sight to behold. So, with that in mind, here's my stat of the week. 0 is my stat of the week. It's the number of fights to cover in major organizations this weekend. Now, to find out a weekend we've had like that, we have to go all the way back to April 6th, where there hasn't been a big major organization, a Bellator, World Series, etc. But that weekend had Artem versus Jason Knight in BKFC, and it also had the best fight of all time between Travis Fulton and Shannon Rich. So it was a big weekend to a few of us, but it was a quiet weekend for everybody else. So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right. So, with that wonderful nugget out the way, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in because we do have a bit of a time crunch and we do have some topics to get through. So, swing or miss, and I'll start with you on this one, Gabe. Is Bellator fumbling talent like Michael Venom Page?
You know what? I don't think they are. I mean, one loss, and it's a guy to Douglas Lima who just beat Rory McDonald, won the whole Grand Prix. I mean, I don't really say that. I think that this is just maybe a sign of the times in Bellator. You've got a lot of movement up there in the division, but I don't think so at all. I think you got to remember that, what was it, about a year ago? He didn't even fight because he was doing the pro boxing thing. And if anything, that just raised his profile, that raised the anticipation, the excitement to see him come back to mixed martial arts. So I don't think so. I think that a lot more things got to go wrong before you could say that, oh, they are handling him incorrectly.
All right, Jay, Ben, do you agree with that assessment? Is Bellator mishandling is Bellator mishandling Bellator? Yes, I'll answer that question. But is Bellator mishandling Michael Venom Page?
I don't think they are, and I'm with Gabe on this one. It is fashionable among a certain stripe of fan to say that he's being handed cupcakes or he's being coddled, but I don't know what they want. I mean, they gave him Dave Rickles, who isn't an easy out for most people. Yep. He's made an easy out of him. He embarrassed him into tapping out on the feet when a strike was not coming at him. It was one of the most humiliating, high-level mixed martial arts outcomes of the last year or two. They gave him Paul Daly. I thought Daly was going to beat him. I thought Daly was going to be the one to do what Lima did to him. Just kind of cut through all the bullshit. Daly is, he's a bit of a spent force at this point, but he is a technically sound kickboxer with tons and tons of experience and serious knockout power. I thought he was going to just kind of wade through the dancing and the bullshit and land something on him. He didn't. I don't know what these people want from Page. I think there's a certain desire out there to see Page fall just because he is so cocky but he's doing a lot of dancing. But you know what he's not doing? He's not saying he's the best welterweight in the world. He's not saying, he's not clamoring for a rematch with Lima. That's for damn sure. Maybe he's settling into what he wants to be. He wants to style on lower level fighters in himself. And if that's what he wants to do, well, by golly, Bellator has certainly got a place for him.
All right, Jay, are you in agreement right there? You think Bellator could be doing a better job with MVP?
I'm not in agreement, and usually we have a good consensus going, but I say swing that they're fumbling with the talent with a caveat. It's fully intentional. It is planned. It is a structural situation, the way they placed Michael Venom Page in Bellator. I look at him almost like a boxer. Now, I'm sure people can be upset about the parallels of boxing. Well, it's not always like that. The matchups they've given him are unlike most of the others in the division would receive. Look at other prospects that the promotion has had. They gave a slow build to AJ McKee, but then he started fighting some good guys. And then you look at like Aaron Pico, they kind of started throwing him to the wolves, and Henry Corrales knocked his block off, and other guys did too. I mean, look, the guy's 15-1. He has, I think, 12 wins in Bellator now, among the most knockouts in the company. And so far, he's fought two of the elite guys in the division, Daly and Lima. Now, Rickles is a great fighter. He's a lightweight. For most of his career, he was a lightweight. The matchup against Derek Anderson, okay, Derek Anderson's a good fighter. He even holds a win over Patricky Freer, big brother Patricky. But he is a lightweight. Anderson's a lightweight as well. I don't know. I'd have to really go digging to find out what they're doing with Page as they would another MMA promotion. He lost to Lima in a title fight, and his next opponent, fully scheduled and intentional, wasn't a replacement, wasn't a mess up, wasn't a screw up or oops. They billed him against a 3-1 local guy. It would be when Robbie Lawler got knocked out by Tyron Woodley, Robbie Lawler's next fight was Mickey Gall. That doesn't make sense that a top 2-3 guy in the division, his next fight is against the number 40 guy, essentially. I mean, he can beat the Rudy Bears of the world, but it loses fun, personally for me, very quickly when he just smashes these outmatched guys. Now, I know Malillo was a replacement, props to him, but Bellator knew what they were doing by putting this guy in, because every single one of his losses are by first-round knockout. So this wasn't a surprise. He was a minus 1,600 favorite here. That's in MMA. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen when Valentina Shevchenko fought anybody. It's the kind of mismatch. Personally, I'd rather watch him consistently lose or underperform against top guys than have him smash okay ones.
I heartily disagree. I want to see him smash okay fighters all day long. Even expecting a first-round knockout, even expecting a spectacular finish, I marked out for that one. I was like, what the hell is that?
I mean, it's definitely fun watching MVP do something crazy and see him have some sort of highlight reel finish. But I mean, when you're coming off of a high profile fight in the welterweight Grand Prix to then fight a guy who's 3-1, I mean, let's get real. I would say that is probably the only real misstep that Bellator has done, because otherwise they've done a good job of fostering interest in a guy who really has largely just smashed tomato cans throughout most of his career. So I think that's a good thing on them, that they've created this buzz around someone who might, if you had the more traditional matchmaking, maybe wouldn't have turned out to be the level of star that he is now for the company. So there's merit to it, but at some point you got to be facing the consistent best guys if you've proven that you deserve to be in that spot. So I would say put him up against a guy like Lorenz Larkin, someone who is proven, someone who may not necessarily be in the prime of his career, but sounds like a good style fight right there.
Lorenz Larkin would beat 7 kinds of shit out of Michael Page.
Yeah, I think he'd knock his block off. I do too. I think he'd do what he did to Daly, except for better.
Hey, but you know what? If that's
Daly beat him, never mind.
Yeah, well, yeah, but Daly was getting pieced up until he wasn't. So I see what you're saying there. But I mean, if that's the case, then so be it. That's what happens when you fight some of the best in the world. But it's just straight up irresponsible to fight a guy who's 3-1. And fortunately, Gianni Maleo, I think it pronounced his name. He came in 13-4, I think his record was. So that's respectable. I can at least respect that record on paper. But no more 3-1 guys. Like, come on, fam. Like, what are we doing?
That time is over for him, for sure.
It's time to move on from that. So you got to start stepping it up on a consistent basis. So it looks like we've kind of. I don't know if you guys want to play matchmaker for this. I gave my pick for Lorenz Larkin. Well, what are you guys thinking for potential good fights for MVP?
I
Well,
like. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I actually was thinking Andrei Koreshkov, experienced guy coming off a loss to Lorenz.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one. Also, you want to talk about giving him a real opponent, really set up a rematch with Lima, if that's what you're looking to do, or a fight with Rory. Then Koreshkov is a good guy to kind of gauge where he's at. Look, if we're being honest, you have guys Neiman Gracie who was in the tournament, Ed Ruth. I guess you got to ask yourself, do you really want to see him against a wrestler, or do you want to see a showcase, him against one of the other strikers? I think that's what Bellator is personally leaning toward. Obviously, a guy like an Ed Ruth who's going to get in his face, take him down, that's going to be a bigger test of his skills. But if we're talking about putting on a show, Andre, Lorenz, like you said, those are all options. The Paul Daly fight is always there, too. Let's be honest.
Do we want to see that again, though?
No,
I
thanks.
think
Do we want to
I
see
think they would.
Paul Daly, Division One wrestler, against
Well,
MVP?
I think that if you ask Paul
no.
Daly after the fact, would you rather have lost getting taken out and thrown down, or now that you've done it, take a loss and try to wrestle, that he would stand with them a little more? I think he would change it.
Well, he says that now until until he shoots for that single leg.
I always say that proves to you how bad Paul Daly wanted to win that fight, is that he was willing to wrestle rather than lose, and it just didn't work out for him.
Yeah,
D1 All Britain Paul Daly right there.
Yeah, you got it, man. That's that English wrestling that everyone's so afraid of. All right, fellas. So, Ben, what any potential matches that you see for MVP?
Well, I mean, if they want to give him someone that is a bit of a sterner test, but still someone he could and should beat, they've been using Kichi Kunamoto as a bounce back fighter for. I mean, have they used him for Ruth and who else? Did they give him to Gracie?
I think he's fighting Gracie.
Like
this month
he'd be
so.
a good guy. I mean,
month.
if they want to use him in their ongoing program of talent exchange with Ryzen, that certainly send him over there. Trade him to one championship. Let him go do his thing over there. give me Sage Northcutt versus Michael Venom Page.
Oh man, I didn't know how much I wanted to see that fight until you just said it.
I don't know. I'd rather see Cosmo Alexander, but that's too big of a weight difference. So, what are you gonna do? I'll throw my proverbial hat in the ring. There are 8 guys towards the top of the division that he should be facing, and it's silly that I have 8 names that he should be facing and has never fought, considering that's basically the entire top of the division. Koreshkov, Ed Ruth, Neiman Gracie, like you've already mentioned. Larkin, like you mentioned as well. Logan Storley, undefeated. What is it, 11-0, something like that. Hot prospect. Needs, that other step up. Rory, if he's still fighting, is an option. Yaroslav Amosov is 22-0, but his last opponents have been, okay, whatever. And then my darkest of horses that I actually kind of really want to see this fight, John Fitch. I want to see if he can handle the fitching. I really do. I know that Nishan Burrell gave him a really tough test because Burrell didn't really let Page impose his long distance kicking game. He clinched him up against the fence and they worked, and it was a 3-round tough fight that you got. I actually like Duffy's big takeaways from some fights. I actually learned something when he fought Nishan Burrell. When he's dancing around kneeing Cyborg Santos in the face, I go, okay, well, Cyborg probably shouldn't have ducked into it, but you see the scar tissue around his face. He ducks into a lot of punches. A fighter's 12-1 in the promotion shouldn't be fighting guys that are moving up in weight. I think, like other tournaments in the past, Ryzen's, the Prides, the PFL even, when the tournament's over, the other guys in the tournament who were in the brackets on this side usually run into each other next. That tends to be something that goes on. And then the winners of those will be the next challenger for a belt. I think those are the kind of eliminator matchups they should go for. I think any of the other names that were in the welterweight Grand Prix should be for MVP. I don't... Again, Derek Anderson, good fighter. Okay, fine. He's a lightweight. I said it again, because it's really important that if he's going to be a top welterweight, he should be fighting top welterweights. You shouldn't kind of stick him with okay contenders or not even contenders, and you shouldn't bury him on a card that you have to watch on your phone for 7 hours on a Saturday afternoon. But I digress.
Jay's just mad that he had to go get some extra power banks first.
Let me tell you,
Yeah,
those little battery packs are expensive.
I'm so tired of talking about Bellator's broadcasting snafus. Like this, at this point, it's just a running joke. Like they're trolling everyone. They're trolling everybody. It's not funny, Scott. Knock it off. Ridiculous. And Jay, I will say that my heart started beating a little fast there for a second when you said the darkest of forces. I was just hoping you weren't going to name a black man. All right, now let's move
Baby
on.
Slice. Baby Slice.
John Fitz.
Give me Page versus Slice.
Oh my
All right, so
God.
let's move on to the best name segment in all of podcast history, and that is I'm Not Surprised, Mr. Falcons. This is when we all get to share something that surprised us the most about the fights this weekend, whether it be the fight themselves, the pre-fight coverage, or the post-fight coverage. So I'll start with a special guest, Gabe. Tell me, what is your I'm Not Surprised, Mr. Falcons moment of the week?
I mean, you know what? Just the fact that Deontay Wilder was losing for 7 rounds before he got that knockout. I mean, he literally said it to a T that, they got to be perfect the whole fight. I just got to be perfect 2 seconds. And that is exactly what we saw. And I wasn't disappointed. I did get a little, discouraged. I was like, okay, I was kind of ready to start eating the popcorn. And instead, I found myself leaving for a drink for a minute there. But look, I mean, he did his thing, and I think, the fact that it literally played out exactly like his big line from the week, honestly.
Yeah, it's amazing that he took such a risk too. You think like a guy that you've already knocked out in a fight that was pretty tough, why fight him again when you've got all these big money fights lined up in front of you? But the risk paid off for Wilder. Another highlight reel to his collection. So Jay, tell me, what is your I'm Not Surprised, Mr. Falcons moment of the week?
LFA 79 happened in Broomfield, Colorado, and the main event was a flyweight title fight between Brandon Royval and a late notice replacement, Nate Williams, I believe. Royval, the aspiring star, came out of the gate against his short notice opponent like he was shot out of a cannon. Like, he starts out the fight with some wild high-risk kicks, like one from like a Ninja Turtles movie, where he catches his opponent caught his leg, and so instead of going, I probably should get my other leg, no, he jumps up in the air with the other leg to kick him with it. So that kind of stuff, very high amplitude, exhausting, and crazy. It ends up on the ground. He pulls for a triangle, omoplata, and then hits an armbar. And this all happened in 23 seconds. I have a Fight Facts piece I wrote about the card, and I had a lot of fun with it because what he did was miraculous. A 23-second armbar set a ludicrous amount of LFA records. Fastest submission, fastest win for a title fight, fastest win for a flyweight, fast finish for a main event, a whole bunch of things. It was just, whoa. Like, that was the record screech, see you in the Contender Series, kid, kind of moment. Or see you in, like, UFC Raleigh on 2 weeks' notice kind of the performance he had, where I thought it'd be impressive, but that's a different impressive. And that shocked me. I'm like, okay, that's a way to end the year, LFA. I'll take it.
All right. So Ben, share with us, please, your I'm Not Surprised, Mr. Falcons moment this week.
Well, I was going to serve up what Gabe did. Just the unteachable, unprepareforable power of one Deontay Wilder. He fulfills a lot of the cliches about one punch power that we're often too quick to assign that term, and he reminds you what it really looks like. But he already did a fantastic job with that. I will instead go over to the Far East, where Colbey Northcutt, young Mrs. Davis, made a successful promotional debut, beating Putra Padme in a 3-round decision that was not riveting watching. It was not super exciting, but and this was against an opponent picked to give her every possible chance to win and make a successful debut over there.
Yeah.
This was an 0-1 woman who was visibly outsized.
Was she a strawweight at one point? She was very small.
Not know.
Sorry.
But she was very small. I mean, she looked to be maybe 20 pounds of muscle mass behind Colbey, if not more. But she looked good on the ground. She defended a couple of submission attempts. On the feet, kind of a pretty buttoned down kickboxing game, but that's what she looked like in point karate as well. She was not Wonder Boy Thompson in the point fighting world, where he was knocking people out in point fighting competitions. So she may be reaching her zenith. I could see her over there in one championship for as long as she wants to do it and wants to take it seriously, making a bit of a splash and cashing some checks, putting together a nest egg for her young family.
All right, well, I must say, shout out to Ben for tape studying with point fighting karate. That's what's up, man. That is dedication right there. This man,
respect the karate.
Salute to you, sir. All right. So my I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons moment, a bit more personal. I was surprised by how tired I was after my baby shower. I was exhausted. I had time to watch the Wilder fight, and I just didn't have it in me. Like I sat on the couch when I got home after I unloaded all the gifts and stuff and all the leftover food, and I could see people on the timeline showing Wilder walking out to the ring looking like Shredder and
the White Power Ranger.
Yes, yeah, definitely the White Power Ranger. And I just like tossed the phone down. I was like, I just don't care right now. I'll have to catch this later. I was just that tired. So the I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons moment for me is if fatherhood is anywhere near as tiring as what I experienced over the weekend, well, it's going to be a rough ride. So, all right, now let's move on from here because we have some fuckery news to go over, and that would be Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's back, y'all. He says he is out of retirement again. He had a nice little Instagram post with one Dana White sitting beside each other, looked like at a basketball game or something, claiming that there's something in the works, that they are doing business together. So, fellas, why are we talking about this again? What could possibly be the plans for 42-year-old Mayweather sitting next to Dana White?
I mean, I think that's just two rich people trying to boost each other up mutually. Like, hey, you say something crazy, I'll, corroborate it, and we'll drive social media crazy on a Saturday, Friday, something like that. No, I think that they're just pumping each other up just to get some attention, get, the buzz going, especially as UFC. They got the big pay-per-view coming up. Floyd always wants to make sure you're talking about him, so you're interested in everything else he's working on. Stuff like that. If they do have any kind of substance, I've always felt like, look, Mayweather Promotions working with Zuffa Boxing, kind of helping the roster and build it in the, from the grassroots. That would be the only thing. But, we're going to see Floyd versus, no, shut up, please, right now. That's the only thing I feel.
Yeah. I'm just amazed at how gullible everybody has been.
Yeah.
Like, the Mayweather keeps using MMA as a publicity stunt over and over again, and just like a bunch of damn suckers, everybody lines up with their tongue wagging. Like I just don't understand it at all. Like come on now, he jumped in the cage with no shoes on, and everybody lost their mind. Then there was he was going to box Habib, and Ali was pumping that up, and this is like, come on now, please get the fuck out of here with that. Jay, Ben, please stop me from saying something crazy. What could Mayweather possibly be up to now?
The biggest, and I'm going to say the word rumor because even that's a stretch. The chatter, I suppose, that's been going around. I don't know. I don't think it was Coppinger that said it, but it was somebody of relevance in the boxing community mentioned that this is the time for Zuffa Boxing to finally launch, headlined by Mayweather versus Pacquiao 2. Now, because Pacquiao, I don't believe is attached to a major promotion, a golden boy type that will say, well, you can't fight on Zuffa Boxing. That's the last I read.
He's a PBC guy, I think now.
Yeah, there's some contractual things going on. I don't know enough of the specifics to talk about it like I'm an expert. But then there are the other bouts that people were blabbering about. Betting odds have already come out for him, for Masvidal, for him versus Khabib in boxing matches. Dude's going to be 43 in February. He's not going to be fighting for a belt unless it's the super magical diamond belt, trophy belt thing that they seem to make for every fight now, like the Mayan belt for Tyson Fury.
Mhm.
If he fights professionally, I'll be surprised. I don't want to see him in an MMA cage because there's one of two things that happens. He fights Mr. Tomato Can 1-1 from Bozeman, Montana, and maybe wins the fight. Or he fights an actual name like James Toney Randy Couture, and he gets submitted with an arm triangle choke in 2 minutes. But they'd probably make him fight a name, and that'd be gross. I don't want to see Conor versus Floyd in the MMA cage. I don't want to see any of those. No, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out.
I gotta add another moment that he actually gave Floyd Mayweather 2 minutes in MMA. I'm impressed at that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I was.
James Toney got 2 minutes out of Randy.
Hey, Gabe, I
Yeah.
was going to let that one slide. I just
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
2 minutes? Like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
In
He's going to take
today's
one leg
MMA,
kick and go, oh, God, I made a huge
in
mistake.
today's MMA, 2 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of faith, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Before the sound of the bell is finished ringing, Mayweather will be on his back.
Down.
So, Ben, anything you want to add about the long-awaited MMA debut of Money Mayweather?
I'm not awaiting it. I really don't care. And I'm not trying to, make a statement here or anything. I literally don't care. He was dreadful viewing as a boxer in his absolute prime. Why would I want to watch anything he has to offer now?
All right. I don't think you can add anything more to that statement. That says it all. So now let's do a little retrospective so far on 2019. We only have a few major fights left to round out the year. But who would you nominate for the All Turkey team for the worst story of the year? Jay, I'll start with you.
Well, that would be a J.D. Penn III, Baby J, BJ Penn. And sorry, guys, if you also are feeling this way about Mr. Penn. In the MMA world, he had one fight, and it was one embarrassing decision loss where he almost got finished by Clay Guida. So, okay, fine, whatever, fight thing, it's over there now. His story, for those who haven't been following it, goes far greater than the octagon. I mean, let's go through Mr. BJ Penn. What has he done this year?
He's had about 4 fights this year.
Under his belt, and
He's
they haven't gone too well. He allegedly, say allegedly because it's still investigating, threatened a neighbor with a machete. He allegedly sexually assaulted the mother of his kids, and she was claiming he had major drug problems. Along the way, he got into at least 2 bar fights. You don't have to allege these anymore because they were proven, and he was, kind of admitted them. Bar fights, and I think he was, 0-1-1 in those fights with a knockout loss to that other dude. The second fight he got sparked and it was bad. So Dana says BJ's done. That loss for Guida's enough. And he said, well, hold on, a week later, no, maybe we'll make him fight Nick Lentz because they have a history, and Nick Lentz wrote a mean poem to him 5 years ago, so that might be a good fight that'll sell. BJ's only on a 7-fight losing streak. He hasn't won since 2010. That's, okay, fine. We can move past that and let him fight. And then that second bar fight, not the first one, but the second one was the nail in the coffin. And Dana actually released him, which that is the surprise to me. I didn't think Dana would let him go. But you know what else is surprising to me? He hasn't been signed yet, unless I'm mistaken. No promotion has picked him up yet.
Nobody signed him.
That's surprising. But BJ Penn, just what a turkey in 2019.
Yeah, rough year for him. Ben, tell me who's your all turkey team this year?
Well, I have a bit of a cheat sheet here because I have been talking with Sherdog features editor Brian Knapp, who does Sherdog's all turkey team each year and has, various staff members contribute their story and write it up, and we do it as a group piece each year. But can I lace a couple of these?
Of course.
We got Greg Hardy's Inhalergate. We got basically everything Josh Copeland has done. We got Dillashaw's Flyweight Adventure. And I'm actually going to be writing about Bellator's continued and even escalating use of tape delay for its European events. as one of my big turkey stories of the year.
It's abusive at this point.
Yeah, it is abusive, and it's just inexplicable. But yeah, like plenty of candidates this year.
Yeah, it's a lot of unfortunate things to choose from. Gabe, what's topping your list so far?
You scared me because I thought he's got a whole list. He's gonna take one of mine. The McGregor bar incident with the old man. I mean, that's no pun intended. Well, actually, yeah, go with it. A black eye for everyone. I mean, just the way that plays out. Doesn't look good for Conor. Doesn't look good for UFC, MMA fighters in general when they get famous. And it was just a bad look. And I want to say that one happened on a week where there wasn't a major event, so it kind of stole the headlines. And that was one. The BJ Penn one I was thinking too. And I don't think this one will come up, but Robert Whittaker at the final hour falling out of the fight with Kelvin Gastelum, that one really did suck.
Oh, yeah.
That was terrible. That was really terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm thinking, at least from a competitive standpoint, I'm unfortunately have to put Aaron Pico on that list. He's had a really terrible 2019 to kind of start off what to have 2018 go off so well for him. A lot of momentum, and we knew that featherweight Grand Prix was coming up. So he was a guy that if he had that win in January, then he would have been a shoe-in for that tournament and perhaps find his way to a title. But 2 knockout losses later, and now he's in a rebuild phase in his career. So that's unfortunate for a guy so young. Fortunately, he's young enough to turn things around. Switched up his coaching as well. So we'll see how it goes in the future for Mr. Pico. The BJ Penn story definitely comes to mind as a guy who was a big fan of BJ Penn in my early fandom in MMA. It's really disgusting to see what's happened to him lately. I think the whole drama around Conor McGregor as well, his the multiple sexual assault allegations, the bar fight, pretty unfortunate things. The racist and culturally insensitive tweets exchanged between him and Habib Nurmagomedov. I mean, and if we're gonna get all the way serious and all the way terrible, even further, I mean, we just had the most horrible news break today about Anaya Blanchard, the stepdaughter of UFC heavyweight Walt Harris, and look, it's ended in tragedy. So there have been some really terrible things to come out of the sport. That would definitely top my list. But if we're keeping things more fun, I mean, or just about the fights themselves, I'll probably go toward Pico. But man, it's been some ugly stuff that's happened this year.
I want to raise something real quick about Conor McGregor. He hasn't fought this year against somebody professionally in a cage, sanctioned in any way. So I think that almost adds to his turkey nature, in that he has not competed professionally. He has competed on an amateur circuit and wasn't able to score a knockdown on a 60-year-old man. That it doesn't look good when he's watching the fights and tweeting at them and trying to get his name in the headlines that way. But the fact that he hasn't fought, you're a fighter in the prime of your career. What are we doing here? Like Brendan Schaub would say, what's the point here? But I digress again.
Good points, though. I mean, to have someone as big of a star as him to be dominating headlines, and you haven't touched the cage, and it's been all bad stuff. It's definitely turkey worthy right there. So there's a lot of bird to go around for a lot of folks in the MMA world for 2019. So now, fellas, this is the time where I get to flex my authority. This is the time where I'm in charge, and that is what we call the speed bag. So, fellas, you're going to have 10 seconds to answer 3 questions. Now, I'm going to make sure that I have my timer ready to go. And, this is going to be fun. So, the very first question, and I know we touched on this a little bit, but we'll get to it again because, hey, I'm in charge here. Who will have a more successful career in one championship, Sage Northcutt or Colbey Northcutt? Now, I feel like Ben should start it off today. And Ben, please don't let me down. Let me cut you off. You got 10 seconds. Let's do it.
I'll go with Sage. Even allowing for the difference in competition, size, gender, Sage is a better fighter than Colbey is. And he's younger.
I'll try to sneak one in after the bell. I see you. I see you there. I see you. All right. So now let's jump to...
Durandamy?
What?
So what is he, Jermaine Durandamy?
Oh, you know what? You got to go next after that failed joke.
All right, I'll take it.
And I'm not even going to repeat the question. Go.
That's fine by me. Let's go. The way One Championship's going to build Colbey, it's going to be her. There are no fighters in the division, so she's going to be a rock star.
Oh, okay. Look at that, dropping the intelligence. All right, Gabe, it is your turn to tell me who's going to have the better career between Sage and his sister Colbey, and go.
Sage, he's still a young guy. He's at a good team. He's still got a lot of time. I'm not even worried.
Oh, the confidence.
He's not worried about the time either.
Obviously not. He came under time, so that's what's up. All right, fellas. Now, number 2. The UFC still does not have a main event for the January 18th so-called 246 card in Las Vegas. Now we're finding out that that's probably end up going to be a fight night. But anyway, which matchup do you think should headline that card? Jay, I will start with you. And almost lost my screen here. And go.
I really like the fight that you've been bringing up here and there throughout our shows week to week. Woodley versus Edwards is a good fight. It doesn't have a lot of pizzazz, but it's very relevant.
All right. See, I was still hoping that would be a co-main event to a bigger card, but I feel we're going there. So
I like it being 5 rounds. I had to say it. I like if that were a 5-round fight.
Okay, I'm going to deduct time from you later. Ben, tell me, what should headline that January 18th card in Vegas?
I will take Greg Hardy versus the winner of Dmitry Smoliakov and the 0-14 guy that they found for him to fight.
All right. Any mention of Dmitry Smoliakov is welcome on this show.
Yes.
Gabe, tell me, who should headline the January 18th card in Vegas?
I'll be that guy. I still think Conor and Cowboy are going to get the job done. They're just trying to negotiate money on the back end. They're in camp right now.
Okay. All right. Ignoring the fight night news, too. I like it. Gabe is exuding so much confidence right here. Just confidence.
I have high hopes, man. You gotta have dreams in this life.
Mine were smashed long ago because of this sport.
Well, Gabe, I'm going to make one of your dreams come true right now because you will start off this question. And I know this is something that you've wanted to do since ever entering mixed martial arts media. So now here's your chance to shine, my man. 4 PFL playoff fighters, including 1 finalist, have tested positive for banned substances this season. Is this about the worst news that the PFL could receive? And go.
Worst news? No. If they lost Kayla Harrison, that would be the worst news. This is a nice, solid number 2 because they're trying to build up everybody besides her.
All right. Good question, actually. Good answer, yeah.
This whole year has been a nice, solid number 2 for that organization.
So, Ben, you have 10 seconds to expound upon that thought.
Yes, it is pretty much a terrible thing, specifically because of their inability to react in a reasonable way to this kind of adversity. Why?
Whoa! Is this a chance to cut you off? Am I flexing my authority? Oh my God! I'm so in charge here.
They can't help Daniel Pineda testing positive or something. They can help making Lance Palmer fight the same guy for the 3rd time this year.
You know what, Ben? Because I can't kick your ass, I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide. I ain't going to do nothing about it.
In post-production, I'm going to mute myself like you hit a red button over there.
So it's just going to be glad he has the mute feature on this.
All right, Jay. You've got 10 seconds, man. Is this the worst possible news for the PFL right now?
When it's raining, it's pouring for the PFL. They lose a finalist, a couple more guys pop. If we see a 2020 season at this rate, I'll be surprised.
Hey, all right. Good job right there, everyone. So now it is my turn to go ahead and answer all 3 questions in 30 seconds. All right, so let me make sure I've caught my breath. And let's see here. The first question is, who will have the more successful career with one, Sage or Colbey Northcutt? And here we go. I actually think Sage Northcutt is going to have the better career, and the fighting is not what's going to make the difference. One championship studios will make the difference. Sage could be a movie star. All right. So the UFC not having a headliner for that January 18th card. I mean, I guess maybe you could put the Weili Zhang Joanna fight there. That sounds good. And for the PFL, it just blends in with all the other bad news. At this point, the slogan of the PFL should be "fuck it." All right. And there we go. So that is feedback for.
And the logo of them was before like this, like.
Oh, fuck it. All right. So
hey, they do need to change that song on the commercial already, though. It's been 2 years of that thing.
Like, no, I just need to see the promo of Kevin Hart saying, fuck it. And just throwing some papers up in the air.
They would do better numbers with that.
That would be fantastic. That would be so fitting for this disastrous season. All right, so now we did talk about this a little bit last week, but Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz had their fight. There was Bellator London. There was one championship. There was LFA. So we didn't quite have a weekend off of fights. It was just a weekend off of the UFC. But this weekend, not a single major fight promotion is holding an event. So we did talk about last week of what we were going to do with the extra time off, but we really have time off this week. So let's start with our guest, Gabe. What are you going to do with this extra time?
I'm one of those guys where my civilian life keeps me busy to make that money, so I'll have some of that going on. In the free time I have Disney Plus, jump in, catch Gina Carano on The Mandalorian, something like that. But yeah, I keep it pretty chill, and I just make that money usually on weekends like this.
Oh, money making Gabe. I see it. Oh, got the squirrels. All right, Jay. What are you going to do this week without writing 13 different Fight Facts pieces?
Like Peter from Office Space, I'm just going to do absolutely nothing. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm covering. No, hold on. I'm covering news on Thursday and Friday. I'll be on the horn. I'll be basically one of the only people in the industry on Thursday and Friday. So I'm not out of the sport until about 9 p.m. on Friday. And that timer hits and it goes off and there's nothing more to talk about. Just Now, I went away this past weekend, was able to see some good people and recharge my batteries. And that was important coming off of a 12-week blitz of fights. And I, still got to come back and catch those other things. But, this weekend's going to be more refreshing because we're going to need that moment to take a deep breath before that year-end sprint. Now we got the double header in Hawaii, a couple more UFCs, the big stacked UFC card, Bellator Hearts Rising, and then the year-end card there. And then the last one, it all culminates in the greatest card in human history, and I'm not talking about one championship, the 6 title fight championship event for the PFL that begins at about probably 5 p.m. Eastern time in New Year's Eve. So the entire New Year's Eve will be spent covering the Professional Fighters League because reasons. So, kind of before it begins. The
celebrate by
moment.
Drinking some steroids. Then you can make this the roster for next season. All right. Ben, what are you going to do with that extra time?
It'll be my last weekend of relaxation kind of through the end of the year because first 2 weekends in December, I'll be covering events live. The first weekend in December, I will be down in the lovely Rio Grande Valley in Hidalgo, Texas, covering Combate Americas, Tito versus Del Rio.
Nice.
I'm really excited for that.
I'm excited for you.
I have boulder walls. Let's get it.
And then I'll be covering locally Fury Fighting Championship on the weekend after that, and then the weekend after that is the week before Christmas. So, yeah, this coming weekend. This being Houston, all I'm hoping is that I won't be mowing my lawn. It's still warm enough and raining enough that it's a close thing that I might have to mow the lawn one more time. That just relax, chill with my family, play the guitar. That's it.
Well,
Sounds good.
yeah, I'm telling you, this extra time for me is not going to end up being extra time. It will be no time for fighting, but wife's birthday. So definitely got to get
Ooh.
something on there.
Oh, there you go.
I've got a ton of stuff to do in this house, a ton of stuff to do in this house, and I've been just strapped for time and spread very thin. So
Now you
I
have no excuse not to do it.
exactly,
Oh
exactly.
boy.
So actually
I can
now
make up a
her
card and
birthday
assign it to
is
you if you
now
want.
yeah, yes, yeah. I've got work to do. I've got to do play by play for this card that we'll talk about to be announced. All right,
We'll
and
discuss it.
yeah, so I'll probably end up seeing a movie. Take the lady out to dinner and drink some of this leftover booze from the baby shower. Yeah,
Sure.
so yeah, it
Debbie's
sounds
not drinking
Leftover
it, so you might as well.
leftover booze. I understand the words individually, but when you put them together, they don't make any sense.
hey, I did what I could, but
Okay.
you know, there were some disappointing fellas that attended that he just didn't plow it down
Not
like I thought they would.
not
I
ca-
tried to look out for them, but they didn't take advantage. So,
not carrying their weight.
mm. But more for me. So I will take it. Now it's time to move on to the buried treasure. So an MMA story that's kind of flown under the radar, or just for whatever reason we just want to shine a little more light on. So I will start with Gabe. Please share your buried treasure for the week.
You know what? James Gallagher scheduled for the rematch with Cal Eleanor. I know he was in a lot of headlines for everything that happened. But you know what? For me, I just really like that this is one of the few guys who's really active for the bantamweight division. He's the guy, outside of Darian Caldwell, Horiguchi's now hurt. I mean, I hate to say it, but until you get like a Goito Perez or someone new making noise, Gallagher's the only thing going right now. And the fact that he's staying active, the fact that, if you ask me, he's kind of taken the loss in stride from Ricky Bandejas, blanked on that one. But yeah, the fact that he's staying active for a young guy, I really like it. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think that he's taken all the right steps in his career in terms of developing as a mixed martial artist, and I'm glad Bellator is on the train on that.
Oh, look at Gabe dropping the insights. I see you, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
You're a smart motherfucker. All right,
Thank
Jay.
you.
What is your buried treasure this week?
Well, I guess since this has been a kind of a Bellator week, we started with the MVP questions. We'll keep Bellator going. So we have the de facto version of Scott Coker's Hawaiian Night Contender Series going on in December. Now, Bellator had a whole bunch of tryouts for fighters in Hawaii for their doubleheader events, December 20th and 21st. Their salute for the troops with Barnett and Hani Marks, because that's still a thing, and then Ilima McFarland versus Kate Jackson. So they have the two big Hawaii cards at the end of the year. Now, the 10 most impressive fighters were given spots on the cards to fight for Bellator contracts. So it's a almost Contender Series type of, well, if you win, you might be in kind of thing. Jam-packed on the Bellator prelims with, 18 fight cards, of course. It's a little amusing to me that there was it was almost like one of those commercials you see on TV where the little fine print that says this is not actually a depiction of so and so, but we resume the right, whatever. They were careful to say that winners might not get contracts. They might get them. They might not. Whatever. And of note, 7-0 fighter, LFA vet Keone Diggs is one of the guys who got a shot. So that's kind of an interesting thing to see, a good prospect getting a shot. And then they brought on a couple of fighters making their professional debuts. And then some of the others are fighting for spots. Some are fighting each other, and some are just fighting other fighters. I'm not sure how it went. When some are fighting 1 and 2 fighters for Bellator contract, I don't know if it's really worthy of putting it on an event, but they're trying to do something different to prospects to fight for their supper or something like that.
All right. Ben, please share with me, share with all of us your buried treasure for the week.
Well, this treasure isn't so much buried as newly unearthed, because this is a story that really has just sort of taken off today. But USADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency, has announced some pretty major revisions in their policies. Ones that I think we will spend the rest of this week as a media space kind of unpacking what they mean going forward, with a healthy dose of what they would have meant retroactively if these things had been in place a year or two ago. Like wherever he is right now, Frank Mir's ears just turned red. Is what I'm saying.
The poor
Basically,
kangaroo.
they're making some adjustments to compensate for the fact that the testing has become much more exact in the last even 5 years. We're to the point now where we have tests that can detect like 1/1000th of a gram of a substance. Like I don't even know what the technical name is for 1/1000th of a gram of something.
I don't think anybody does.
No, I mean it's almost like a single grain of salt in a large recreational body of water is what I'm saying.
This sounds so familiar.
And if you split the salt grain into all these pieces and leave it on the table.
But there is a list of 8 or 10 substances that they are specifically changing the threshold amounts for, and this is an all-star list. Clomiphene, the estrogen blocker. Like if that name is familiar, think of Brock Lesnar, Michal Alekshuk, Tyrone Spong. HCTZ, which is a diuretic. They are changing the out of competition concentration for that one. If HCTZ rings a bell, I could rattle off a half dozen fighters if my memory wasn't so shot right now. SARMs, all your selective androgen blockers, things like Ostarine. You know, I again, you know, probably 8 or 10 UFC fighters have popped for Ostarine in the last 2 years. And by the new standards, a lot of them would not have. And so we're going to see an end of these things where fighters know that they may have popped for something and they're left out there with the choice of announcing it, not announcing it, pulling out of the fight and saying it's for something else, or doing the Nate Diaz and just saying, fuck your picograms. Oh, sorry, I said it.
That's a secret word.
Yeah. So again, this is a fresh enough story that I think will be certainly a few days and maybe weeks unpacking what it really means for the sport going forward. But off the cuff, probably a good thing, because the people, this is not going to help the hardcore cheaters. You know, what it will do is maybe cut down on the number of fights we lose for like stupid reasons.
Yeah, that's definitely a story that we're gonna have to have just a slight bit of distance away from. This literally just broke earlier today, you know, as of this recording. So I'm very much looking forward to unpacking that, and perhaps we'll have a more thorough discussion about what it all means next week. So stay tuned to the Walkout Network for that. Now, my buried treasure. This one broke today. It wasn't really a breaking story. It was a little nugget that came out of I believe an Ariel Hawani show with Randy Couture being one of the guests. Who Randy Couture obviously just had a heart attack a couple of weeks ago. Walked himself to the hospital after a training session to discover he was having a heart attack. But the thing that I think was lost in some of the tragic news that came out today and lost under the USADA fallout was that the doctor apparently told Randy that if he got to the hospital a half hour later, that he probably would have died. So pretty amazing. Like he walked to the hospital while having a heart attack, and that's probably what saved his life. So just an interesting little nugget there. Just that man is super tough. So now we're going to close out the show with just a little twist on what we normally do because, hey, it's Thanksgiving. Everybody's all happy to be off from work and hang out with family and eat a bunch of food and get fat. So let's go ahead and talk about what's going to make us fat right now. So, fellas, what is your favorite dish for Thanksgiving?
I'll jump in. You know, my wife and I both enjoy cooking. We're serious hobbyist cooks. You know, we will make every damn thing from scratch, except you cannot beat that stovetop box stuffing. Like I don't care if your recipe has like truffles and 35-year-old Hennessy in it. That stovetop stuffing, you cannot beat that. We will always make twice as much as would normally be called for because it heats up well as leftovers and is just the most delicious thing on earth.
All right, never been a stuffing guy. I don't like stuffing. I'm so weird at Thanksgiving though, but I'll get into my weirdness about Thanksgiving in a second. Gabe, what's your favorite dish for Thanksgiving?
Okay, so I'm gonna just stereotype myself a little bit, but we have a lot of Mexican food. Like we have the turkey, it's still there in the middle, but you surround that thing with some Spanish rice. You surround it with some beans. You still have the carne asada option. That's what Thanksgiving looks like at the house usually. So that's usually what I'm looking forward to. It's very, it's very us though, I would say, for my family, and we love it. We wouldn't have it any other way.
I say, well, I'm very tempted to throw some pro-black stuff in there to counteract what you got going on, but I don't really have nothing pro-black to add to this. So Jay, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Well, I wanna hop on something he said just a second ago about there's the turkey and then there's everything else. Maybe I'm blaspheming right here, and if I am, please slap me on the wrist. Can we all agree that turkey is the least interesting thing that we eat in Thanksgiving?
Turkey
Like
sucks.
At least for my family, it pales in comparison to all the other options you have. The masterminds of my family are making these wild, whatever magical stuffings or green bean, like my personal favorite with green beans with sliced almonds and it's spiced in a certain way. Just one of those once a year is great. Any more than that, it's a problem. But really, if turkey weren't served this year, I almost wouldn't notice.
I'm with you, man. I there are so many years I don't touch the turkey. I go straight for ham. Give me the ham. Give me the mac and cheese. My wife makes the best mac and cheese ever, 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 ever. Unfortunately, we probably won't get it this year. Um, Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, it's because we still don't have our stove hooked up. So,
Oh,
That's a reason.
yeah, so that's a good reason not to have it. But man, I got to get some of that mac and cheese. Man, it's so good. Um, but yeah, I want the ham. I want the mac and cheese. I want the green beans. And then I want some booze, man. Give me some whiskey.
Some wild turkey.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that kind of
That needs
turkey
to
is
be in
all
the middle
right.
of the table.
That dirty bird, man. That's what I need in my life. All right, so now to round out this show with even more just unparalleled positivity, something that isn't very common here on the Walkout Network. Um, Now is our time to share something we're most thankful for in combat sports this year. Gabe, I will start with you.
I'm thankful for having several positions in MMA, Cageside Press, MMA and Cage.net, Smash Global. I'm thankful for my podcast, MMA Daily, shameless plugging. And you know what? Justin Gaethje, Korean Zombie, Thiago Santos, three fighters who are always great television. I'm grateful for them in MMA.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I like it. Ben, what are you thankful for in MMA this year?
I am thankful for the amount of live mixed martial arts that I've had the chance to take in this year. I got to see UFC San Antonio from Press Row. Got to take in a great LFA card out in Greater Waco. I've been to probably 15 other cards than that, like across Texas and into Louisiana. I spend a lot of time on this show as well as wherever else I kind of touch the media space, making fun of the ridiculous aspects of this sport or criticizing the actually harmful and unjust elements. But I mean, hopefully nobody ever confuses that with me like hating this sport or even loving to hate this sport. I love this sport. Mixed martial arts is, I would say, it's a bit like sex. When it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's still better than most other things. So I'm here for all of it. The great, sublime, inspiring, memorable moments, the ridiculous and funny, even like the boring ass shit cards. Like I'm here for it all, and I am very fortunate to have been able to see as much of it up close and personal as I have this year.
Sorry, had it muted there for a second. Ben, comparing MMA to sex. A big fan of North-South position. So, Jay, what are you most thankful for in MMA this year?
You know, in addition to having a platform to finally be able to take all these crazy numbers and put them into another medium that people can understand and enjoy them like I do, is more of an abstract, more of a concept than it is a specific fighter or a specific thing. It's investments. I'm thankful for fighters and the work that whomever do to make it so you can watch something 3 years ago and have that moment where you go, it all just paid off. Like my example is going to be the Israel Adesanya example, because they were kind of laying the groundwork for him and he was laying the groundwork for himself. To watch it all pay off was a gratifying moment, even at the expense of an opponent. I mean, Robert Whittaker was a fan favorite as well. You'd have a hard time to find somebody saying, finding a bad thing to say about him either. But to have those moments of, it's all worth it, from a fan perspective, from a media perspective, to go, man, I've been thinking about this for so many years, and here it is. It makes that worth it to me. And I saw several examples of that this year. The emergence of Jorge Masvidal, that the investment he put in to make himself and change himself and finally have that moment, finally have the breakout and there it is. There's the moment of clarity almost, and the performance that ensued. I'm thankful for those kinds of stories and those kinds of moments. It really makes it worth it to me to be able to see this and see this is where they started, and this is what it all led to, and there it is. So I've seen that a lot this year. I don't know more than usual other years, but I've seen it a lot this year, and it's really kind of made me take stock of the situation.
Definitely, I want to piggyback off of that too, because one of the things that I'm most thankful for in this sport, in addition to gentlemen like yourselves, the friends and great colleagues that I've been privileged to work with and and collaborate with, and we get to sit down and just share our ideas and everything about this sport that's so crazy. Yet I wouldn't change it at all, despite how bad some of the parts may be, despite how crazy it may be, despite how stressful it can be. I love every second of it, and would not change that for anything. But I'll have to say I'm really thankful for the things that I've got to see with my own eyes this year, as a media professional in mixed martial arts, to witness the craziness around Ben Askren's UFC debut against Robbie Lawler, just to be there 30 feet away from it, and then to see Jorge Masvidal handle his business with Ben Askren, in that same arena just a couple of months later, to see John Jones perform twice this year, to see Amanda Nunes once again cement her greatness, just live and up close. It has been marvelous, and even since the last Thanksgiving, I can even go back to UFC 232 and what a crazy experience that was, and to say I was a part of it, to have Nate Diaz make me go viral for a split second there with a snarky press conference answer, to have Dana White call me a mean guy and then follow up and call Gabe a mean guy right afterward too. There have been some pretty cool things that have happened this past year, and man, I'm so thankful for it. I love every second of it, and I can't wait to do it all over again. So. All right, so that is going to do it for this edition of Unleashed. Now, let's go ahead and share with everyone where they can find us on social media. Let's start with our guest.
What's up, guys? Anthony, thank you guys for having me. You can find me all the time at Double G on TV. Just spell out the word double, and that's where I'm at on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Someone took the TikTok already, and I was shocked, but yeah, Double G on TV for everything.
All right, Jay, where can the good folks find you?
Well, y'all can find me right down here, maybe a little lower, probably right here. Mm-hmm. It's Jay Petrie on Twitter, and you can find me on Sherdog.com. If you go to the features section, you can find me in writing about pretty much anything in the sport. I'll be there. Now, I won't be there this weekend, but I'll be there for the rest of the year for you guys. I'm everywhere you need me to be.
All right, and Ben, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Benjamin Duffy. I am senior editor at Sherdog.com. You can see my features there in the main drop-down menu. And about 2 weeks from now, like I said, I will be down in the lovely Rio Grande Valley, where it will probably still be 90 damn degrees. And I fully intend to live tweet the Tito versus Dos Caras Jr. spectacle.
All right.
I am thankful for that, by the way. I am thankful for that.
I'm so thankful.
this is going to be so beautiful. So,
and I am gonna get some amazing like Mexican food, and
That's what's
yeah.
up.
yeah, that sounds delicious, man.
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
does.
delicious. So, all right. So, of course, I'm Ant Walker. You can find me on Twitter at Ant Walker MMA. It's probably written that right here. By the time you're watching this. Also, yeah, find my work on Sherlock.com. You can find some of my old work on MMA on Point. And yeah, done a few podcasts lately. I'm just kind of doing what I do all over the place. So just go ahead, give me a follow. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, um, spread the word. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. So for Gabe, for Jay, for Ben, I'm Ant. Thank you so much for your time. And you know what you got to do. You got to stay beautiful. You got to stay positive, and you got to stay sexy. I will see you when